Parents of Reddit, what is most fudged up secret you are hiding from your children? Adoptive parent of 3 kids, 2 of which are biological siblings and cousins. Found out a year after the adoption that the biological parents were half-siblings who shared the same dad. The bio parents found out after they had the first child and proceeded to have another. The kids are now 16 and 13 respectively and have zero clue that they are a product of incest. Unfortunately, their biological grandpa just passed away, so there very well could be a big reveal coming in the near future. Posting here so when my kids are old enough to snoop they get a split second of excited expectation before they are greeted by my saying I do really enjoy having sex with their mother. You mother fudger. Deleted. My mom kept it a secret that the woman I was named after, her mom, my grandma, was stabbed to death by my uncle when my mom was 18. I always suspected my grandma had a tragic death because of how my mom would avoid talking about it, but I didn't know it was that tragic. Is the uncle dead or in prison? What happened with him? I don't know if it's the most fudged up, but my kids don't know that my grandfather was a child molester. He died before they were born, so I don't see any reason to ever bring it up. Also, that before we got together and got married, my husband was briefly married to my sister. No kids, and no real drama when it ended and we started dating later, so it's not really a thing that gets brought up often. They do know that she's had multiple husbands, but they don't know who the first one was. Was your sister bothered when you guys got together? How did your family take it? That I've been changing every clock in the house on New Year's Eve to 3 hours early. At 9 p.m. we celebrate the new year, then hang out for an hour. He thinks he's breaking every rule and has a great time. Now that he's turning 11, this will never happen again. With phones and being somewhat smarter. LOL. Deleted. Because if it was any earlier then it would fudge up your image of him even more than now. That we weren't actually visiting daddy at his work. It's a secure psychiatric ward where he's been since she was 3 months old. I'm curious how your relationship started with the father, sounds like an interesting story. We met a few years before, he always had issues but so did I and we were madly in love. Things were going well for a while for both of us until I got pregnant. His mental health got worse and worse until he got sectioned and ended up where he is now. I'm glad you took the time to visit him with your daughter. It's the small things like that can make all the difference in the world. I hope the best for both of you. After reading a bunch of these, I feel pretty good that my most fudged up secret is that I eat most of their Halloween/Easter/parade candy when they are at school. Agreed 100%. Halloween is really a holiday in which kids go around and take candy from other parents to unknowingly give to their own parents. Hey, nice job on the full-size Hershey's, Randy. No problem, Steve. Keep those York peppermint patties coming. I'm the child. I recently found out about the murder-suicide attempt my great-grandmother tried to commit on her family. Her daughter, my grandmother, survived the attack and some years later moved to Canada as a teen and eventually got married and had my dad. Pretty haunting. A colleague of mine has a friend who hid from her 8-year-old daughter that she, the 8-year-old, would die within a few years because of a terminal illness she got. My son was a product of rape. He just thinks I had really low standards in men at one point. Please God tell me you don't have the share custody with the father. My wife and I each have a child from a previous marriage. Both of our ex-spouses were abusive cheaters. Both children still adore and idolize their other parent and we just keep smiling and nodding. This probably isn't the type of thing Up was asking, but it is a secret that we will maintain for years. Edit. Thanks everyone for the replies and commiserative stories. Makes us feel better that we are not the only ones keeping things like this a secret. That we don't go to bed the same time as they do. My parents told me my sister is adopted. They didn't tell her. She's 34. BTW help, what do I do? Buy the whole family DNA test kits for Christmas and watch the world burn. Savage. But actually intrigued on how that will go. Go on r/23andme and find out. Happens every day. Also /r/TIFU. Not a parent but a child. This last Christmas I found out that not only was my mom had already been previously married and divorced, but my dad had a kid before he married my mom. So I have a half-brother or sister that I have never met. The real kicker was I found it out from my new sister-in-law, who had someone did some digging, found out, assumed that I must already know, and brought it up out of the blue on Christmas Eve while we were baking cookies. Why did she do some digging? My father found out when he was in his 40s that his father was not his biological father. His mother, my grandmother, literally cheated on her husband with the milkman. Man, milkmen were just laying pipe every fudging where way back when, weren't they? Enough physical activity to stay in shape, and a lot of interacting with lonely women at home alone. My whole family thinks I'm awful with money because I'm super broke despite having a good job, but I'm actually socking away every spare penny to put my niece through college and to take care of my parents when they can't work anymore. Edit. Thank you for kind strangers for my first platinum and silver. Wholesome AF. Good for you, whoever you are. That will mean so much to your family one day. Edited because I apparently don't proofread anything. Before I found out I was pregnant with my first child, I took a shiz ton of pills. I think it's the closest I've ever come to suicide. I had always dealt with anxiety and depression. I feel like the extra hormones put me over the edge. I found out about a week later that I was pregnant. Surprise. I was terrified the entire pregnancy that something would be wrong with him. Luckily, he was completely healthy and is an incredibly smart child. I've never told anyone. I feel so guilty.